So last week I had you read an article about innovative and environmental art, and I told you we're going to build on that article, and that's what we're going to be doing this week and next week as well. So this part of the project is going to be divided into two parts. It's going to be divided into a part that is going to be May 4th through the 8th. And that's when you're kind of preparing, you're gaining some more information about what that type of art is, and you're kind of brainstorming or thinking about what you might want to do for your project. And then you're going to pass your plan into me. Okay, it's worth 50 points, but of course it's worth more than 50 points in the whole scheme of the game, because if you don't have a plan at the beginning, it's really hard to put these things together in the end and make something successful. Also, we want to alleviate as much stress as possible, so probably don't want to be doing things at the last minute. All right, so your plan's going to be due May 8th, and this is the sheet that you can write it on in Google Classroom. And then I'll give you a grade for that. I'll write back to you. And then you'll have about a week and a half to actually start to make your sculpture. So you're going to make your sculpture, you're going to take 3 to 5 photographs of it, and you're going to answer the 3 questions that I ask you most of the time, like what your goals were, what your challenges were, and what you're most happy with at the end. And the sculpture is going to be worth 200 points. So that's a lot of points. So just make sure that you do the best that you can and that you get it passed in. It's a new project for me as well, so anything that is new I will go out and do myself, so I have an idea of how long even a simple sculpture takes to make and how much thought it takes to do that. Okay. So this is what your paper will look like when you open up Google Classroom, in addition to this video right here. So we're still going to be with Andy Goldsworthy, and he was one of the artists that a lot of you talked about as far as the last reading that you did. He's going to be our inspiration for this project. There are 2 clips here, so you can just click on both of these clips, and I would like you to watch them. They're both very good. He also has a couple of movies out. He has a movie called Rivers and Tides and Leaning into the Wind. I did watch both of them. Rivers and Tides is for free, and I thought it was really good. It's not a fast-moving, exciting movie. It is him doing his work, and so it's, you have to pay attention, and it's not going to be a lot of excitement. Leaning into the Wind, I had to pay for it. I think it was about $4. And to be honest, I don't think I gleaned anything more from Leaning into the Wind than I did from Rivers and Tides. So it's up to you. You may love him and you may want to watch both of them, or you may just want to watch the clips. This paper will look much neater on Google Classroom. I've just used so much ink since we started working from home that I didn't want to reprint it once again. So these are just a reminder of some of Andy Goldsworthy's works. Kind of goes over the steps. You're going to use organic objects, which display the elements or principles of design. You don't have to worry about that. They always will. You can also use items that are not organic. So let's say if this whole idea of doing an environmental sculpture just is, you're not an outdoorsy person, it's just not your thing. You can do the same types of things with using some type of leftover items, like some type of trash, for example, in yours, and that would actually be perfectly fine. So for example, if I had saved all the boxes and all the packaging from all the items that I have ordered from Amazon in the last six weeks, and I made a sculpture out of those items, I think that I would probably, my opinion about how much I order might change. I think I would be mortified as to how much waste I have caused just by ordering from Amazon, which many of those items I could have done without over the last 6 weeks. So you are welcome to use those type of items if you would like. You're also welcome to use food. Food is also really interesting, and that is an organic material. You're going to think about how the sculpture fits into its surroundings, and I'll talk about that when I show you the one that I did, because I had to move my surroundings. You're going to photograph it. I would like you to have at least 3 photographs that you send to me, and at least one of them without any distraction in the background. So some of you have done a really great job photographing it, but it might have been on your marble countertop or something like that, and it was just a little bit more difficult to see what you had done. And then, of course, like I said before, you're going to do a little written part of it as well. Okay, let me just flip this piece. These are some examples of these like kind of like a relief type of sculpture that people are doing with fruits and vegetables. This one is more three-dimensional, more in the round, where those are more relief. And even this one with paper clips, this is not a good sculpture, it's more of a design, but you could use paper clips and you could build something really, really cool with paper clips. I saw this one on probably Facebook, and then I looked it up on the computer. I thought this was really cool because it's a commentary on the times that we live in right now. So it is a priest, or it's a priest, and then he took photographs of all his parishioners. I don't know how he did that, but he did. And he had them taped onto the pews in front of him so that when he gave Mass, even though his parishioners couldn't be there physically with him, he could see their faces and feel them in his heart as he gave his sermon, as he conducted church for that week. So I thought that one was kind of cool. All right, so let me show you what I did. So the idea, I knew we were going to do this environmental sculpture. So just like you, I was thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to use to do this project? And so anyways, I saw this lady walking up my street. That's my house right there. And she was walking up the street, and she had something yellow in her hands. And that's all I could see for a while, was that she had this big bunch of yellow material in her hand. And then I was like, oh, she has forsythias. She has the flower that's been in bloom for the last few weeks in her hands, and she must have been bringing it to one of the other neighbors. And I was like, oh, I can use that. That shows up really, really well. I can use forsythias in mine. So that's my little forsythia tree right there. And so that's what I decided that I was going to use. I knew that the branches were somewhat bendable. So because I knew I could shape it into a shape, whatever I wanted it to be. So I decided that I was going to put it into a heart shape, just because it seemed fitting for this period of time. And also I thought a heart shape might attract a few more kids to it. There's a lot of little kids that ride around on their bikes in our neighborhood, and I wanted them to stop and look at it as well. So I used wire. So some of you won't have wire. I just happen to have some wire at my house to get the basic shape of a heart. And then because the wire was so flimsy, it wasn't the best wire to use for this, I took some sticks. I gathered up some sticks, and I kind of like wrapped the wire around the sticks a little bit, just to make sure that the heart was going to be a little bit more sturdy than if it had just been with the wire. And after I did that, I started to tie on or weave through the branches of the flowers. And so I went over, I cut a whole bunch of branches from my forsythia, and I started to weave them into the heart shape. And then I put it on the arbor that is in front of my house. So this was my first attempt. And what I was hoping for was for the kids on their bike and their parents to stop and kind of look at it and, have a connection to nature and to talk about it with one another as they went by. One of the disadvantages of putting it there, and that's why the surroundings, I'm talking about the surroundings, is that I have a lot of decorative type things in my yard, so it didn't really stand out that much. And the other thing that was super disappointing, and that's why I'm giving you a little bit more time rather than just a week, is that I did it on a nice day, but by the time I finished it, it was about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and at like 6 it started raining, and it rained for 2 days after that. So nobody was going by walking their dogs or riding on their bikes because the weather was so bad. So then I had to figure out what the heck am I going to do with it after that. So what I decided to do on the next nice day is I took the same armature, so I still have the heart. You can see the heart right there. But what I did was I took some old string, and I put the string across almost like a tic-tac-toe board onto the front of the heart, and I got some new branches that actually had flowers that hadn't died, and I wove those through so that it wasn't negative space anymore, but it was actually kind of like a solid space. And then I decided I can't put it in my yards, but I wanted to see people stop and look at it, so I didn't want to put it too far away. So I put it, you can see here's the arbor that it was on before. And just walk across the street onto the telephone pole across the way, and I put it there so that sometimes when I'm in my house I can actually see people stop there and look at it, which is what I wanted to see, whether people did stop and look at it or not, and if they did talk about it, which they did. But like all things, I did it on a beautiful sunny afternoon, and then now it has been raining since then, and it's going to rain tomorrow as well. So I'm not getting to see as many people stop and look at it, but definitely the first few hours that it was on, people did stop and look at it. And it definitely is more out of place. I wish the pole was a different color so it popped out a little bit more, but it definitely is gathering people's attention, and they're stopping. Kids have stopped on their bikes and called to their mom and dad to come look at it, and I've had a few people stop and take photographs of it as well. Okay, how much time did I spend on it? I probably spent, I bet you, almost 5 hours. So when you're doing this, please understand that because I'm doing it too, that even if it's rather simple, I still know it takes a lot of time. Like you have to gather up, first you have to decide what you're going to do. You're going to have to gather up the materials. You're going to have to put it together. You're going to have to solve the challenges. As soon as you start putting it together, there's going to be challenges that it's not holding together, the weather's not good, whatever, and then you have to adjust according to that as well. Okay, so this will probably be your last big project. I'm not sure what we're going to do for final exams. This will bring us to, let me look on the date again, this will bring us to May 18th. Which would only give us about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before the end of school. So probably if I had you do another art project, it might have to do more with photography and photographing something that is three-dimensional, and or writing about something that has to do with sculptures and art history. All right, so take your time, do a good job. I hope the weather's good, and I just have really been loving what you've done so far. Really nice work. It's a delight to open up each of your files and see what you have been doing. And of course, anytime you have a question, you can email me.